Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the ASTROLABE, brought to you by King Pilled. It is time for another show. This is going to be a kind of a quick one. Got to try to see if I can keep this under an hour and a half max. Got some good stuff, and it's some just not quite as many stories, but every single one of these is a banger. It's going to hit hard. Going to talk about Senator Joni Ernst. We've talked about her a few times now, and she is proving her treachery, and this is a great illustration of the way that this new incoming coalition is essentially rendering obsolete the establishment GOP, and it's just a matter of how exactly that plays out. We're going to talk about that. Bitcoin hit 100,000 last night, and happy birthday to me. And we are going to be, I got a couple things here about Nayib Bukele and what is happening to El Salvador as a consequence of that. And then I got a couple updates on the story of the assassin, the United Health CEO assassin from yesterday. So I've got something about that. I'm going to talk about the role of violence in a society. Anyways, strap in, folks. Hit the like button. Share the show if you're on Twitter. You can go retweet it. I'm streaming at Real King Pilled. If you're hearing the podcast version of this is primarily a visual show, but due to popular demand, I began uploading the audio versions of it to all the standard podcatchers. So if you can, do me a favor and leave a rating and a review. Help me kind of boost those numbers as well. Very much appreciate all of you guys. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for following the channel. You should go listen to Jason Miranchuk's stream last night, his GOAT stream that he did. He's got a cool little thing he's doing. He has this pressure washing video game, and he's sitting here just like playing this pressure washing game, pressure washing a gigantic, like a house shaped like a gigantic boot. And it actually works really well. There's kind of a bit of an ASMR vibe to it. He's just sitting there talking, and he's got something that's sort of keeping him a little bit distracted, but then he can talk over it. And it was a nice, cozy vibe. Really enjoyed it. And he was dropping some nukes. I thought it was pretty funny. It was just pure Kino having him sitting there playing this little like pressure washing cartoon while talking about really heavy stuff and providing some very good insight. Talking about the vengeful son. He and I are going to be, I think, probably early next week. We're going to be doing a revisit of the notion of Trump being installed. We've done a couple episodes on it before the election, and we're going to revisit that on next week. So that's probably going to be a members only stream. I assume if we're going to do it on either of our platforms, it's going to be a members only stream initially. So you can become a channel member here on YouTube, a member of the King Pilled, $5 a month. You have to do it from a browser, a desktop interface. You can't do it from the app. Stupid app store commissions. But yeah, that'll get you early access to it. And then you should also go to Substack, kingpilled.substack.com. Follow the King Pilled Substack. It's free. You can pay for it if you want to, but it's free for the time being. And that's where I upload the stream after I finish it here, and I include all the links of everything that I went through today. So I think that's all the housekeeping that I have. Let us get started. Leading off with a little bit of... So my wife sent this to me. She's very dutifully curates content for me because she keeps track of what's going on Instagram. I basically never use it except for when she sends me stuff. And this is there's there's like a meta wife jack thing here. So my wife jack sent me like a real life wife jack meme. You guys will appreciate this.
To any criminals who would try to rob my wife, you better scram, because I want to tell you, this is what's going to happen if you try to rob her in her car. She's going to open up this thing, okay? She's going to move this tissue box, and then she's going to bring this thing out. And if you have a knife or a box cutter on you, I know she'd greatly appreciate using yours so that she can get this open. And then if you've got 4 to 6 minutes and you don't mind hanging out, she's going to get this thing open, and she's going to spray your face. Your face. I want to give a warning to any criminals who would try to rob my wife. You better scram, because I want to tell you, this is what's going to happen.
Chick in the chat says, don't forget to account for enough time to read the instructions. Another one says, goes to car to unbox mine. You just wait 15 minutes, buddy. I got something for you. Once I get past all my receipts and junk, it's over for y'all. Do you just want to get in? I just need to move this stuff in the seat. Shout out to Mrs. King Pilled for for sharing the wonderful Wife Jack content. Straight Buster here says, taking a break from Daryl Cooper's Anti-Humans episode for some Labe. I feel like I've lived through 5 wars. Yeah, I haven't listened to that one yet, and it's for a reason, because I've heard about it. I know the subject matter. I've heard tell from many people about what it's like listening to that, and I got to build up to that one. That's going to take some I don't know, sterning myself up. And regarding Jason, he says, got to be taking cues from Elon holding meetings while playing Diablo. That is a very good shout. Jason, if you're in here right now, you see that? You see what Straight Buster said? You should might give you some content ideas there to play with. I think we were talking in there last night. Oh, one thing hilarious. We're in there in the chat last night while he's streaming, and Buck Johnson showed up. They started talking about video games, and Buck Johnson said, "What's Steam?" And he said that he works with at the firehouse. He works with a bunch of younger guys that play a bunch of video games, and he says, "I'll talk to them about it." And I said, "Please, sir, please pull your phone out when you're going to go ask them. Pull your phone out and film their reactions when you walk up to them and you say, 'Hey, what's Steam?' I really, really want to see their reaction." So we were discussing that, and I think that there's probably a good chance that you'll get some Jason and I playing video games while talking content here. We're going to become gaming streamers, whatever those are. Do we have to get on Twitch for that? Is that the place? What is the other one? Kick? Something like that? This is like a completely unknown world to me. I can't even fathom. I watch these people, these guys that walk around town, and they're just like filming themselves going to a gas station or going to a restaurant to eat or whatever. And they've got tens of thousands of people watching them do this. I'm like, what's happening here? Are you like walking around town watching someone else streaming themselves walking around town? It's very odd. But there's a pretty big market out there. So maybe Jason and I are going to start taking the vengeful son to the vengeful son of the PayPal mafia goes to streamer land, gaming streamer land, whatever it's called. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. All right, another little bit of slop here from Super Christian Mario. Boomers are awesome, actually. My grandpa's retirement community is out of control. Now I'm going to full screen this one. Actually makes it kind of harder to see. Does it get bigger or smaller? I guess it gets bigger. It gets smaller on my screen. Watch very closely. The boomers are, as the kids say, they are wilding. Watch that again. Look at this. Wham! Boom! Boom! Dude just goes flying out. One more time. Boom! Some old dentist is very much regretting some life decisions right about there. Whammo! He probably spent like $25,000 or something on this golf cart. And I wonder if his wife is in there with him. I can't imagine. There's no way this guy, if this guy's wife was in there with him, then she's probably laughing it off just like he is. But playing chicken on golf carts in a retirement community. Oh, white boy summer indeed. All right, a few of you guys sent me this one. We got another AI video. So we're going to take the gamble and we're going to play this. I looked very carefully. This is the guy who originally posted it. He posted it. He's got Maverick Darby as his handle. He watermarked it down here and put Maverick Darby on X. So it was one of these that got me the first copyright strike on the channel. I'm guessing it must mean because whoever made that one also posted it on YouTube and they copyright claimed it. But I'm going to hope here, Mr. Maverick Darby, please do not copyright claim me on this. I'm going to play your video because it's awesome. I'm giving you wider reach. You have no reason to copyright claim me here. I'm going to make nothing off this video. So just let it go, please. This is Donald J. Potter, Muskeldore's Revenge.
You must be mistaken, kind sir. I'm just a regular guy.
Bullshit. You're a wizard, Donnie.
Jones Grid, I don't want this to come off too autistic, but I just get the sense that you're a really good guy.
Well, thanks for saying that, Donnie. Anywho, you know how your parents are dead? If we don't step up, everyone is going to have dead parents.
That makes me upset, Jones Grid, in a huge way.
Jones Grid.
Actually, what do we do?
Let's go get you some school supplies.
These don't seem like regular school supplies.
Oh, yeah, that's because you're not going to a regular school.
Welcome to Tismhart. I am Professor Muskeldore. Fun fact about me, I'm angry about the way things are going in the world.
I teach potions.
Hold on, let's go back and read those. Why having a family isn't okay. In a world where we could barely keep our Wi-Fi connection stable, it's shocking that some people still think having a family is a good idea. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, is there anything more outdated, inconvenient, and downright unproductive than the concept of a family? Reported by Randy McChucklefuck. What was the first one? Is your owl gay? Potentially, but it's complicated. Here are 10 surefire ways to create a safe environment for you and your owl. And that one I can't quite read. I'll have to look at that one on the phone later. But there was also another one.
The way things are going in the world.
For years, the wizarding world has known Elon Muskeldore as the charismatic and visionary headmaster of Tismhart. He's been lauded for his innovative approaches to education, from introducing something loop-powered broomsticks to something mising to get all students to graduate with a magical starship. By the time they're 18, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's all I can see.
I teach potions, but my passion is purging the school of fat kids. They're disgusting, okay?
Class, who can tell me why Billington Gatesum and Anton Faucinius belong in Azkaban?
Happy holidays, Donnie.
It's pronounced Merry Christmas. Semi-related. Your father seems like he is on a first-name basis with the devil.
Pop quiz. Trans women are
weaponized and mentally ill men dressed like special needs tramps, Professor?
correct. 75 points to Libertinian.
They're using blood magic, but we've got spells they've never heard of, like 1776 of a Maxima. That one melts commies' faces off.
We're coming for you, Schwab de Mort.
It's very entertaining. This is one that that hovered right on the. It like had some really, really good moments, and then some. You know, if you're like grading on the slop quotient, there's like quality slop, and maybe there's like shit posting, and then there's quality slop, and then there's not quality slop, and this one was like hitting all three of them. This is not the first one of these from this little circle of the internet. It's very interesting. You've got the what was her name? Liz Churchill, I think. Yeah, Liz Churchill. The redheaded libertarian. It's like an offshoot of the libertarian world mashed up with some of the I don't know what you would call it. It's not quite like the Q people. Maybe like Julian Assange people, Glenn Greenwald-ish, and then the libertarians, and then they get into like the populist MAGA side. But you could the libertarian very much shines through. Yeah, AI J.K. Rowling is a wood. Got some leaf bucks, man, adding to the collection. 20 of them from Rob E. He says, invade Canada, please, before these Canadian dollars aren't worth anything at all. We are so gay. Well, as soon as we get finished de-gaying our own country, then we'll set our sights toward our hat. John Rocker has issued an update. Our guy here. My name is John Rocker.
Say something homophobic or racist like in your past. Come out.
If you were a man, I would knock your teeth out. Well, Rocker's remarks on our show back in November may have outraged Met fans. It was the comments he made to Sports Illustrated writer Jeff Pearlman that caused a national outcry. Quote, imagine having to take the number 7 train to the ballpark, looking like you're riding through Beirut next to some kid with purple hair. It's depressing. And about New York City itself, Rocker said, the biggest thing I don't like about New York are the foreigners. I'm not a very big fan of foreigners.
I fully endorse this grift. We need more John Rockers out there. John Rocker posting. Did I just become a baseball fan? Tucker's on with Lavrov right now. Oh, I picked a bad time to go live. I got to try to compete with that. Are they doing it live? There's no way it's live. Tell me, is it live? Or did he just drop the episode? Well, it's trending right now. Looks like they just dropped an episode. It's premiering. Oh, okay. Okay, so they recorded it, but they're premiering it. Well, I know what I'm going to be watching tonight. Well, let's get this moving on forward here. Got another Fetterman quote. Part of this is I'm very entertained by him, and the other part is I think he is a legitimate power player on the American political stage now. And so tracking what he's doing is going to be, I think, very telling.
You see yourself ultimately working with folks like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who will be heading.
Yeah, I admire Mr. Musk. He's been involved in very important parts of American society, AI, SpaceX, and other kinds of things. Yes, he's on a different team, but that doesn't make me an enemy. I don't be automatically going to become a critic. It's like, hey. He has made, he's made our economy and our nation better, and our politics are different, and I don't agree with some of the things that he might say, but that doesn't make him, like I said, an enemy.
You see yourself ultimately.
This is going to sell so well. And I think, and honestly, I don't even think it's necessarily something being done cynically by him. I think he's... I don't think that he has played up the ogre thing. I think he's just himself. Like I don't think that this has been like some master plan where he's pretending to be a big dopey guy, but he's a clever Machiavellian behind the scenes. I just think he's just himself. And so he's like, well, I'm senator, so I guess I might as well do what senators do, and I'm just going to speak my mind. I like Elon; he's pretty cool. I don't have to be his enemy. We play our politics game, and like that perspective right now in American politics is going to be tremendously appealing to normies, especially disaffected Democrats. And I think that big power brokers are also looking for new talent right now. And he's basically tailor-made to be the Democrat move toward the center, working class, recapturing. He's white. He's just a kind of an ordinary doofy dude. You can also... there's an aspect of it where it's like you can hold him up as our paragon of what a man should be, and there's I can see I can see the aristocratic sensibilities in our circles not really liking that very much. But yeah, I'm looking at this as not really a is this good or bad thing. You can get into that as a later conversation. I'm just observing what I think is happening, and I think he is on his way to becoming, if not the head of the DNC, like one of the major figures within the DNC. Yeah, I love his view of himself that suits look like shit on me, so if I'm going to look like shit, I'll at least be comfy. Right, yeah. He just doesn't really care. He's found himself in this position, and he cares about people, and he cares about all these different things, and he just wants to go do his job, and I think he's very much an embodiment of, like, the Gen X American that just kind of wants everything to work the way it's supposed to and just kind of do his own thing, and if he wants to do his own thing within the prescribed scope of all the institutions and the systems, he wants to do that, but he also wants to be free to do his own thing on his own terms as well if he wants to. It's very, very Gen X. Continuing our tracking of similar character, Eric Adams, New York City mayor, defends Daniel Penny for protecting subway passengers and blasts the media for portraying Jordan Neely as an innocent child. So this guy here there's a conversation going on in the King Pill Discord earlier about this. Like what's his angle? You know, is this a based Republican who ran as a Democrat and got himself into power, or is this is he just a totally cynical power broker, like recognizing he's lost one set of patrons and angling for the other one? Is he following the incentive of, like, if I make my city richer and more productive, then I can carve off my my commission from that, you might say. I think it's kind of, I don't think he's a base Republican that ran as a Democrat. I would probably just dismiss that almost completely out of hand. I think he's just a clever operator, and he knows how to play the power game. And so in New York City, if you want to get elected, you run as a Democrat and you say all the Democrat things. But he's found his way to he had some scandals that came up that were trying to be used as leverage against him, and he basically broke them. And part of the way that he broke them is by sniffing the winds of change and recognizing the ascendancy of Trumpism. And so he just started leaning into it where it was appropriate. So being very anti-immigrant, well, this actually suits his needs, his desire for power as well, as long as he can protect his flank from the Democrats. And so if he can go into the Trump camp as like protection, just to sign up for a new patron, then or to be a new patron, and this actually suits him perfectly well. Make his city safer, wealthier, attract more investment. It gets richer. Nobody's going to care if he's carving off his little slice from the top. In fact, you know, if I was in the Trump camp, I would be like openly bribing him, basically. Yeah, we'll give you whatever cut of whatever you want. We'll just do it legally, you know. But having him on board, having the mayor of New York City on board, echoing your rhetoric and facilitating the policies and everything, like that's very very compelling. So I think he's just a clever guy who knows how to play the game, knows how to work the system, and he's working the system very well to his advantage. So this is what he had to say.
You should look at that on a multi-faceted approach of everything that's wrong with the system that we're facing. One, look at the photo that they used to show the victims. It seemed like it was a young, innocent child, right, who was brutally murdered, and it gave that impression. When you looked at the photo that was being used, it wanted to set up in the minds of people that we were dealing with a young, innocent child that, you know, just a Michael Jackson intimidator that, you know, was just brutally assaulted.
He's echoing exactly what right-wing Twitter was saying when the story first broke, and what people have been pointing out since, you know, George Zimmerman, basically. Like that was when it really broke into the public consciousness, I think. But it has been roundly. It's not even touched. Within the regime press and all their institutions, this concept is completely ignored. It's not even addressed. They pretend as if it doesn't exist, and he's appealing directly to it.
Then you look at the complete failure of our mental health system, a complete failure. From the days of closing psychiatric wards and having those who needed help just turned over into the street without giving any safety net to accept them. Parents reach out to me all the time and say, I'm watching my child go down, or my loved one, my family member going down this serious decline. What do we do? A system where you brought people into hospitals, gave them medicine for one day, and sent them back. The young man in this case was going within our system, throughout the revolving door of our system. Now, we're on the subway where we're hearing someone talking about hurting people, killing people. You have someone on that subway who was responding, doing what we should have done as a city and a state of having a better mental health facility. Those passengers were afraid. I'm hoping that the jury will hear all the facts. Based on all the facts that's laid out, a jury of his peers would make the right decision. And I don't want to prejudge that. I'm just looking at all the facts that are involved here and what we did to get to where we are and what we're seeing. Because that could have easily been a case where you saw 3 innocent people murdered on our street 2 weeks ago.
What he is here is someone up here said 100% populace going with the tide, said Vitalaus. Yeah, I agree. And there's what he is here is really he's like a mob boss. And he sees probably very clearly that if he becomes the guy who cleans up New York City, maybe he doesn't want to completely follow the track of those who've done that before. Speaking specifically of Rudy Giuliani, but if he cleans up New York City and is the one reigning over its like ascendancy out of complete degeneracy and crime and squalor, then he's going to be a legend. He's going to be set for life. He will be as rich as he could possibly dream of being. He knows how to play the game. And there's a kind of a delicious irony here that let's see, how would you frame this? So the policies that have been pursued in New York City that have gotten it to the point that it is today have created the pretext for someone to come in and take power on the basis of removing those policies. So like nature is healing. There's a realignment happening here where the incentive for power corresponds to the incentive to make things better for the people, just broadly speaking. So there's a natural reactive, like nature heals itself. There's a natural response. So someone takes power by doing things that are destructive and degenerate, which opens up the pretext for someone to take power by doing the things that are constructive and regenerate. It's a wonderful world we live in. Let's get to this next one. Another prominent person who's coming out and saying all the right things.
If we're talking,
someone wants in the club, it sounds like. We're going to speed this one up a wee.
If we're talking about Trump, I think it's very interesting. I'm actually.
This is Jeff Bezos for those who are just listening.
Very optimistic this time around that we're going to see. I'm very hopeful about this. He seems to have a lot of energy around reducing regulation. And my point of view, if I can help him do that, I'm going to help him. Because we do have too much regulation in this country. This country is so set up to grow. By the way, all of our problems, all of our economic problems, like if you look at the deficit, and the debt, the national debt, and how gigantic it is as a portion of GDP, these are real problems, and they're real long-term problems. And the way you get out of them is by outgrowing them. You're going to solve the problem of the national debt by making it a smaller percentage of GDP. Not by shrinking the national debt, but by growing the GDP. You have to grow the denominator. And that means you have to grow GDP at 3, 4, 5% a year, and let the national debt grow slower than that. If you can do that, this is a very manageable problem. So we need a growth orientation in this country. This is the most important thing, a growth mindset. And we are the luckiest country in the world. We have all these natural resources, including energy independence.
I cannot fit my brain into the mindset of the person who somehow is so black-pilled that they think deregulation and immigration restriction aren't going to happen. It cannot not happen. You have someone like Jeff Bezos coming out here and endorsing it. He feels comfortable endorsing that because, number one, he believes it, and number two, he doesn't think I'm going to get lambasted for this. Now is the time to come out and endorse it. Guys like Bezos are like, their vote counts way more than anyone else's just because of the status that they occupy in society. So when they come out and publicly vote for something, that's like probably, I don't know, at least a couple tens of millions of other people that just cast their vote as well. Maybe 10 million, 5 to 10 million. I don't know, 7, 8 figures, low in that range somewhere, that he is effectively a proxy for. So if he feels comfortable coming out and endorsing something like this, that means it's basically already a done deal. Like these tracks have been laid, they've been greased, and the train is on its way. It's just going to pick up steam from here. The problems that we face going forward are different than the problems that we've faced in the past. Now we're going to have instead of having the problems of low energy, decay, degeneracy, everything being smothered, the smothering mother, we're going to have the problems of explosive chaos, growth, where like growth accelerates, like growing pains by definition, where the growing process is happening so fast that it's actually causing pain to the thing that is growing. Those are the problems that we're going to have. That's the thing we need to set our sight on now. Not being concerned about wokeness or political correctness or corruption and bureaucracy or whatever. Like, those are not like the barriers that stand in our way. They need to be removed, but they are the removal process is already underway. So we need to be looking beyond that.
Have the best risk capital system in the world by far. So, people get confused about why does the United States have so much venture success, so much entrepreneurial success? Why are the big tech companies here and not somewhere else? What's really going on with all this dynamism in this country compared to what we see around elsewhere in the world? Right. And there are a bunch of reasons for that, but the biggest one, 8 of 10 points there, is that we have better risk capital. So it's not the banking system. We have a good banking system, but so does Europe. Right. What's different here is that you can raise, $50 million of seed capital to do something that only has a 10% chance of working. That's crazy. But the people who are giving you that seed capital know that their expected value is still positive in many cases, or they're at least gambling that that's true. That risk capital system that we have in this country is turning out to be very hard for other countries to duplicate. So we have that. We have, we speak English, and English is turning into the lingua franca of the whole world. It's there's so many advantages here, but we are burdened by excessive.
Someone's getting awful America first in his language here. We'll leave aside Europe has a great banking system. In the terms he's speaking, I don't think he's wrong necessarily in saying that. In the future, it's not going to be that way, but this perception isn't necessarily the perception that we share here is not necessarily duplicated out in public just yet. This is almost sounding America first.
Permitting and regulation. You can't build a bridge and all these things. You know what they are. We see these examples all the time. We need to be able to build solar fields and everything else.
So you're optimistic.
I'm super optimistic
about this president. And the reason I ask is because
I'm very optimistic that President Trump is serious about this regulatory agenda, right. And I think he has a good chance of succeeding.
What about the idea that he thinks that the press is the enemy?
Well, I think I'm going to try to talk him out of that idea. I don't think the press is the enemy. And I don't think, he's also, you've probably grown in the last 8 years. He has too. This is not the case. The press is not the enemy.
I hope you're right.
I hope I'm right too.
Have you talked?
So let's go persuade him of this. No, let's do it. No, but you and I should go. Let's go talk to him.
If we could try.
I really don't. I think that this is absolutely. I don't think he's going to see it the same way. But maybe I'll be wrong.
Was that always your thought, by the way?
What I've seen so far is that he is calmer than he was the first time and more confident, more settled.
Let me ask one related question, then I want to actually get into space, but actually...
So this is, what he's doing here is he's not saying that the press hasn't been a problem. He's not saying that you can just trust the media. Everything the media says is fine. He's operating at a level above that. He's pacing here. What he's saying is, you've defeated the press. The press are no longer a threat to you. And of course, he's saying this from the perspective of a guy who owns the Washington Post. But what he's signaling here is, we want to work with you. My institution that I control, I'm angling for us being cooperative with you. Let's get on good terms. And the way he's talking about this, so think about this. He's a guy who owns one of the worst newspaper publications, most corrupt, lying, terrible. And the press has been defined for the last however long by their just completely deranged, incorrigible hysteria and mendacity about everything related to Trump. He's been painted as the worst villain, the consolidation of every single villain ever known to man, all distilled down into one person. And within that environment, he's saying, let's go talk to him. Let's go try to work things out. Let's have a cooperative relationship with him. So if you hear what he's saying and you say, oh, he's defending the press is evil. No. There's a conversation happening above that. The implication of this here is, he is the one with power. He is the one who won. And we need to go present ourselves to him and entreat him. And he's a human being. He's someone we can negotiate with. He's not some evil monster. He's a guy. Let's go talk to him. He's changed. He's calm, he's stable, he's secure. That's what he's saying here.
Is an interesting segue to space, because we were talking earlier this morning to Sam Altman about Elon Musk. And Elon Musk's relationship with the president, interestingly. And there's been a lot of questions about whether there could be the possibility that Elon, given his proximity, would make things difficult for people who are his competitors. Elon, in the space context, is your biggest competitor.
Yes.
Does this concern you?
Well, they're certainly very able competitors. I mean, this is an arena where I have the...
Oh, no. I know he's a great competitor. No, I'm saying, does it concern you, his proximity?
No, I was headed there.
Oh,
but I'm just saying they're certainly very good competitors, and no doubt about that. I take at face value what has been said, which is that he is not going to use his political power to advantage his own companies or to disadvantage his competitors. I take that at face value. I could be wrong about that, but I think it could be true. I think he probably is trying to, I think this Department of Government Efficiency and that he and Vivek are helping Trump with and so on. Again, I've had a lot of success in life not being cynical. And I've very rarely been taken advantage of as a result. It's happened a couple of times, but not very often. And I think that cynicism, why be cynical about that? Let's go into it hoping.
I don't know whether you would say it's ironic or profound, maybe both, this is coming from a man who just went through what would be a crushing divorce to most people. He got absolutely rinsed in a divorce, very, very publicly. And this is what he's talking about. So I think it's probably both ironic and profound.
That the statements that have been made are correct, that this is going to be done, above board in the public interest. And if that turns out to be naive, well, then we'll see. But I actually think it's going to be great. I'm hoping.
I'm glad you could address it. It's something I think we all want to know. One, by the way, before I even get to space, Washington Post question, just because there's a lot of media people here.
This is a very, very interesting clip. I don't know how you can possibly be black-pilled. And speaking of all the things that he's signing on board with, here's our favorite one.
Well, let me paint a picture for you, Sean, of those first 100 days. Rapid, total, complete deregulation of American energy exploration.
Yes!
You're going to see an American energy boom starting right away.
Yes!
You're going to see all the regulations that are strangling job growth in this country and driving up prices, driving up housing costs, go away.
Yes!
You're going to see the border sealed shut. The criminal aliens are going to be shipped home, and foreign countries around the world are going to accept the gang members and the cartel members that are poisoning our families and murdering American children.
You're going to accept it, you're going to like
peace begin to restore to the world as the president works to bring back harmony in the Middle East, harmony in Europe. You're going to see him work with Congress to pass another round of historic tax relief. And you're going to see a government that is accountable to the people again. The swamp will be drained on day one. Incompetent and disloyal people that are hurting this nation are going to be replaced with those who care only for the American people, the American worker, and the American future. That's what's going to happen. It will be a new golden age, Sean.
You know what we need to do? All right, Elon, I've got a job for you. You need to create an assembly line whereby we can ship all the black pillars and have Neuralinks installed that will force this clip to play on repeat in their mind. We're going to internally, cognitively, a Clockwork Orange them with this clip. And things just get better. So this is not the actual Tom Homan. This is an engagement bait account talking about Tom Homan. Mass deportation update. Missouri has officially proposed a bounty system to report illegal aliens in their state. This bill would give residents a $1,000 payout for reporting migrants who entered our country illegally, which is also one of 7 bills introduced in the state's legislature to focus on their immigration issues. Senate Bill 72 would also develop a Missouri Illegal Alien Certified Bounty Hunter program, which would certify people to be bounty hunters to track down these tips. Updates coming soon. Okay, so here's an article about it. Missouri Senator-elect criticized for bounty on migrants bill. Of course, that's how it gets framed. And this is from a Fox affiliate. So the way they lead the story is he's criticized for it. St. Louis County Republican Senator-elect David Gregory is facing major pushback after his plan was publicized Tuesday, which proposes to pay people a $1,000 bounty for turning in undocumented immigrants or undocumented migrants in Missouri. Gregory campaigned heavily on border issues, not the Missouri-Illinois or Missouri-Arkansas border, but the U.S. border with Mexico. Back in March, he shared a campaign video of his visit to the U.S.-Mexico border in Arizona. He then shared his proposal to create the criminal offense of what he called trespass by an illegal alien, punishable by life in prison. Let's do this right to protect our people because immigration is good. Illegal immigration is bad. He has now pre-filed Senate Bill 72, establishing what the bill calls an Illegal Alien Certified Bounty Hunter program, which would certify Missouri residents who apply to be bounty hunters to find and detain what the bill calls illegal aliens with a state-paid reward of $1,000. Democrat State Senator Brian Williams of northern St. Louis County pointed out the bill was only one of more than 700 pre-filed for consideration for the 2025 legislative session, set to start in January. Williams said Gregory's new bill seemed to be gaslighting, do nothing, and a piece of legislation designed to grab headlines, but one with potentially devastating consequences for law-abiding Missourians. Right now, it sounds like the public is going to not only get finger-pointing, but potentially be subject to various situations of discrimination, Williams said. Missourians expect us to find solutions and not point fingers and not point people out of a public lineup. A spokeswoman for the International Institute of St. Louis, which helps migrants and refugees resettle here. Oh, I'm glad they went and got her take. Said, the immigrants and refugees we work with have made our country more welcoming, healthy, and prosperous for all. That would continue, she said, regardless of any immigration proposals from the legislature. I don't know how you do something like this without just stopping every brown person and demanding to see their papers, civil rights attorney Javad Kazieli of the Kazieli Wirsch firm said. Oh, I'm glad we got his take. He called Gregory's bill un-American and said it would open the state up for a great deal of costly litigation. That is definitely true. But un-American, sir, do I have a story of the history of a country for you? Turns out America did not start in 1964. For someone like me, who's a civil rights attorney, this is going to be a boon, he said. You're going to have a Puerto Rican walking down the street, gets tackled, and people are going to be like, we caught one, and they don't know Puerto Ricans are Americans. Oh, we live in such incredible times. Breaking. Today, a federal court ruled that Target may have violated federal securities laws by failing to disclose the risks tied to its LGBTQ activism. This is for Breaking 911. They tagged America First Legal on this. Now, I didn't have time to dig into this further to see if this is actually an America First Legal case that's happening or if they're just tagging them in it to give them a heads up. But it says here, in May of 2023, Target Corporation undertook a children and family-themed LGBT Pride Month marketing and sales campaign as part of an environmental, social governance, and diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative. The campaign focused on displaying Pride Month-related merchandise at the front and center of Target's stores across the United States. This resulted in customer backlash and a boycott that plaintiffs allege caused Target's sales and stock price to decline. Plaintiffs, shareholders of Target stock, now sue Target and its board of directors, alleging numerous federal securities law violations. Target moved to dismiss the case. Plaintiffs responded in opposition, and defendants replied, "For the reasons stated, defendants' motion to dismiss is denied." This will be interesting to follow. So basically, the shareholders are saying, you decided to undertake this marketing campaign that was catastrophically stupid and materially affected the value of the stock. So we own this stock, and you are not being responsible custodians of this stock. So we're going to sue you on that basis for your poor decision-making. Your decision-making was so bad, so egregious, that it materially affected our own wealth by causing such a backlash that decreased the value of the stock. Very, very clever legal argument. I think this is the type of thing that I suspect does not emerge organically. You don't just get a bunch of Target shareholders who are like, "Man, we're real mad about this, and so we're going to go sue on this basis." I think this is that's why I think America First Legal being tagged on it is interesting, because I'm wondering if this is something that they've put together. They went out and I can't remember the term for it, but you go out and like hunt for the class action lawsuit. Joni Ernst, this is from Sean Davis at The Federalist. Joni Ernst is waging an aggressive personal jihad against Pete Hegseth, including constant phone calls to Trump demanding that he dump Hegseth. Sources also told Federalist that Lindsey Graham was dispatched to Trump World this weekend to knife Hegseth and suggest that Ernst replace him as Trump's nominee for defense secretary. So there's been a lot of rumors about this, that she has her own designs on the SecDef role. And this is the first time that we're getting, at least sources who are affirmatively stating such. So this is from their article. I'm just going to read this part here, and the link is in the reply to this tweet. So if you want to go read the entire article, then go to King Pilled Substack or the podcatchers, and in the description there'll be the list of all the links that I went through, and you can go find it there. So it's Senator Joni Ernst, Republican of Iowa, has been leading an aggressive personal jihad against Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump's nominee for defense secretary. Multiple sources within Trump World with direct knowledge of her outreach to Trump told The Federalist on Wednesday. Her efforts included personal calls to Trump to urge him to dump Hegseth ahead of her meeting with the Army veteran on Wednesday afternoon. I'll add, after which she tweeted that I met with him and we talked. And it was good to talk to him, basically. Ernst did not tell Hegseth during her meeting with him about her efforts to derail his nomination, sources told The Federalist. So this is going to be another interesting one to watch, because there's clearly now a coordinated effort to rally behind Hegseth. He's doing this media campaign. He's doing all these pressers, and interviews with other people out there defending himself with. Now, what's interesting is I don't know that we've necessarily gotten a Trump tweet on this just yet. One of his patented releases where he really advocates for his guy. Maybe we did and I'm not remembering it, but Hegseth has said that Trump absolutely has my back, and he's been telling me over and over again that he has my back, and multiple other people have all said that Trump has his back. But thus far, I mean, in 2016, if something like this was happening, Trump would have been tweeting nonstop about it. But now he has proxies that are doing work for him. And one of those proxies is Charlie Kirk.
Senate as the future of Pete Hegseth and President Trump's nominees hang in the balance. And it's a bigger question. The question in front of us is, will the Senate be able to have a pocket veto to be able to tell the president, no, we're in charge, you're not in charge? It is an ongoing question, as Pete Hegseth, who should become the Secretary of Defense, as an honorable and brave and great man, a patriotic man, will be able to survive the thicket of Senate Republicans. At the center of all of this is an extraordinary test case, and somebody that we have not really focused on this program at all over the last couple of years. Enter Joni Ernst. Joni Ernst is a senator from Iowa. Joni Ernst ran as a rebel, as an outsider. Joni Ernst ran as someone that was going to try to change the business as usual process in Washington, D.C. Now, I've actually never met Joni. It's one of the few senators I have never had a chance to meet. I don't know her. I can't speak to her character, how she is. I'm sure she's very pleasant and very polite. Joni Ernst, though, has largely flown below the radar. She does not pick big fights. She goes with leadership. She is a neocon. Joni Ernst believes in invading the world and inviting the world. Joni Ernst is of the mold of Liz Cheney. And in fact, she palled around with Nikki Haley during this last primary. She showed Nikki Haley around at the Iowa State Fair. Joni Ernst, of course, has now made good, allegedly, with the Trump campaign and came and endorsed and all that. But make no mistake, this is a Liz Cheney type of foreign policy politician.
This here is, so obviously Charlie Kirk is a prominent member of Trump's inner circle. So you can read this as effectively a declaration of war in political rhetorical terms from the MAGA world, Trump's administration, Trump's inner circle, against Joni Ernst. Now, what's fascinating to me about all this is the way that old Chuck Dirk here is going at this. This whole operation here is rooting out traitor Republicans. This is the top priority. So what he said at the beginning there was, it's a bigger question. Will the Senate be able to have a pocket veto to be able to tell President Trump, no, we're in charge, you're not in charge? So he sounds like us. I might as well be listening to the old Glory Club, to Pete Quinones, or Jay Burden, or Thomas 777. Like, the problem in political terms, Thomas probably wouldn't really even care about the actual political goings on because he's got other priorities, and good on him for it. But the way that they're approaching this, they know full well who the enemy is. And they're engaged in a coordinated operation to identify that the enemy is the fake right-wingers, the fake Republicans, the traitor, squish neocons. They are the enemy. I don't have any complaints here. They're going about this basically perfectly. With the Gates nomination and now the way the Hegseth thing is proceeding, you can tell that they are explicitly isolating any Republican who is not going to play ball. Any Senate Republican who will not play ball, they are isolating them and applying massive pressure to them. Because that's the biggest thing that's going to stand in their way. Here's another clip.
So the example of transgender people serving in our military, We have transgender people serving in our military. They will bleed red just as the rest of us. But I also take a stance that we should not be integrating transgender people into certain situations where it does make, if you have a female barracks and you have a transgender woman who has not transitioned, we shouldn't make the rest of the unit uncomfortable about that setting. There are certain accommodations we can make for that transgender individual. But if they bring value to our unit, if they have specialties that we can use, especially if we want to maintain an all-volunteer force, we want to bring that talent into our services. And I know that's controversial, but again, I'm looking at what's good for our nation. And believe me, when we're facing a recruiting challenge right now, if people are physically willing and able to serve our country, we want them to do so.
I just don't ever want to hear this phenotype discussing this issue at all. Just, this might as well be a dog barking at a leaf. This woman should be given there should be no weight whatsoever to anything she has to say, any ideas or thoughts that she has. If you're seriously talking about, like, this sounds like an AI generated cartoon that just plugs a bunch of words together, discussing totally inane, retarded things. Like some kind of weird parody video. Talking like, I don't want our troops to be uncomfortable. I want to make sure those trans, I almost said the word I probably can't say on YouTube. Those transgenders, they are just, they bleed red just like the rest of them. And if they want to contribute to their country, then they can. But I don't want the troops to be uncomfortable. Shut up. This woman needs to be run out of public life. Go home and knit. Where are your grandkids? Your grandkids need attention. You don't. Here's what Charlie Kirk said. Maybe this is why she's leading the charge against Hegseth. People in Iowa have a well-funded primary challenger ready against her. Her political career is in serious jeopardy. Aha! A well-funded primary challenger ready against her. Now, a lot of people have been asking who that person is, and I went through all oh yeah, here you go. I went through all the replies on here, and I searched around, didn't find anything. Now, maybe something comes up sooner, or comes up eventually, but I would suspect that they're going to hold that pretty tightly, because you don't want to give your enemy an opportunity to prepare against you or something like that. But Elon Musk is on the record that they're going to be, hold on just a second here, that any Republican senator that does not play ball is going to get primaried. And so it sure looks like that's the way things are progressing. Cernovich said, imagine being Elon and all these new guys and wondering what the fuck is happening right now. We deliver Trump a mandate. Republicans take the House, which was predicted to be a loss, and the Senate, and it's Republicans who are rat fucking us. And I said, I'm sitting here chortling at the fact that a bunch of former Dems who were raised to think establishment Republicans are comically evil stooges put their own careers at risk to drag the GOP across the finish line, and the establishment Republicans think they're in the driver's seat here. This won't end well for them. It's not going to be very hard to get a bunch of former Democrats who have aligned themselves with Trump to be like, Republicans are our enemy. They've literally lived their entire lives being conditioned to believe Republicans are their enemy. So convincing them, hey, it's not Republicans per se, it's those Republicans. They're the ones who need to go, and you're going to get all of the ire directed on them. All right, so a little bit of news that broke about this New York City assassin. I need to make sure that... Okay, yeah, I don't think there's any videos on this tab. I thought of that a minute ago, because that's definitely one way to get the video taken down. So the words deny, defend, and depose were discovered by detectives on the shell casings found at the scene where Brian Thompson, the CEO of major insurance group United Healthcare, was gunned down, police sources told ABC News late Wednesday evening. So what I'd heard, now I don't really find it conceivable that if he'd written deny, defend, and depose on the shell case, on the rounds that he fired, that the shell casings would still have that visible on there. I'm not like a real big gun guy, but I mean, I like guns. I don't know them well. But I find it hard to believe that the writing would remain. But I also did hear that there were some unspent rounds that were left there. So that's conceivable if he wrote it on them and just dropped them there. This is like something out of a movie. So what does deny, defend, and depose refer to? The terms deny, defend, and depose are integral to the legal landscape of medical malpractice. Here's how each is applied. 1. Deny. Healthcare institutions have historically adopted a deny and defend strategy when confronted with allegations of medical errors. This approach involves denying any wrongdoing and vigorously defending against malpractice claims, often at the expense of transparency and patient trust. Number 2, defend. In this context, defend refers to the legal defense mounted by healthcare providers and their insurers in response to malpractice lawsuits. This defense aims to protect the reputation and financial interests of the medical professionals and institutions involved. Number 3, depose. The term depose pertains to the process of taking sworn out-of-court testimony from witnesses during the discovery phase of a malpractice lawsuit. Depositions are critical for gathering information and formulating legal strategies. So this book that this is, it seems like to be a paraphrase from what I've seen. I don't know that those three words used together exactly that way are necessarily common parlance, but it's a reference to this book by Jay Feynman, Delay, Deny, Defend, Why Insurance Companies Don't Pay Claims and What You Can Do About It. So now I've seen a lot of people saying, okay, well, this proves that his motivation was that, he was a family member of someone, or he himself had to file for medical bankruptcy or just couldn't get stuff covered or whatever because the insurance company would denied their claims. And United Healthcare happened to be, from what I saw, the number one claims denying major insurance company. It was something like 34% of claims. I don't think that this necessarily implies that at all. I think it's still entirely conceivable that it was a hit that was commissioned by someone, and by someone powerful commissioned this hit, and they just want to frame it to make it look like it's some disgruntled person. I don't think that's necessarily resolved yet. But the response to this has been pretty interesting. I dipped my toe into I dipped my toe into lib Twitter, and I didn't want to bring up any specific tweets because I might blow my cover there, and these are just ordinary people. They're just poor dumb shit libs. But they are exulting in this. They are baying like hounds, completely bloodthirsty. And this is why I'm saying you guys need to go listen to Jason's stream yesterday, where he's talking the goat stream he posted last night on Mironchuk Now. That's MIRONCHUCK Now. I've seen a lot of people having a hard time with spelling his name. He talked about the vengeful son and the vengeful son versus the prodigal son. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to completely recapitulate everything he said because I do need to get through the rest of the show. But the thing is here that the people who feel that way aren't necessarily wrong in feeling that way. They may not know, they may not have the right direction to point it or whatever, but that sense of injustice, like the system is rigged against me, people are profiting off of malice and cruelty or just simple indifference to human life, that's very real. That's a very real thing. They are justified in sensing that. And the thing is, these sorts of people, you're not going to rationalize them into not thinking that way. That bloodthirstiness isn't going to go away. we're very rapidly moving to the point, especially right now. So the institutional Republicans are very quickly becoming the ire of the ascendant power within the Republican Party. Democrats are wildly unpopular with their own constituents and in complete disorganized chaos, which is kind of highlighting the lack of power that they actually have, which means people are going to start looking for others. This might be part of the subtext of someone like Jeff Bezos deciding to start talking the way that he is. Because once these sentiments start percolating among the masses, they're going to need an outlet. That outlet is going to come. You can, leaving aside the conversation of whether it should or what form it should take or any of that, I'm just saying that outlet is going to come. That sort of bloodlust, rage, especially for people who have lost someone. And that happened to a lot of people completely unjustly in horrifying ways over the last 4 years. So that spirit is, it's not coming, it's already here. And an interesting result of that, it just so happened that it was announced the day that that happened, that Blue Cross Blue Shield in Connecticut, New York, and Missouri have declared that they will no longer pay for anesthesia for the full length of some surgeries. So think about this. I need to get this surgery. In order to have this surgery, I need anesthesia. And the insurance company is now saying, you're going to have to foot the bill for some of that cost. So for your ordinary normie person who's just like, I have insurance and insurance pays for these things. Now suddenly insurance is not going to pay for these things. And I need this surgery because I've been, maybe they legitimately do need the surgery, but they've been conditioned to believe that this is literally life or death. I don't know exactly which surgeries it was or whatever, but this news dropped the same day that the CEO of United Healthcare got straight up assassinated in the streets. That was a poor... are those connected? Perhaps. Perhaps it was planned. In either case, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield calls off decision to cap anesthesia for surgical patients. To be a fly on the wall of those phone calls yesterday, there were some major executives who were freaking the hell out and making a hell of a lot of phone calls. But I think this is indicative of, you could say whatever you want about the regime and how much control they have and whatever resources they have that they can bring to bear on people. And you can talk to your blue in the face about all that. But when CEOs start getting assassinated on camera in the street, other CEOs start moving. And they start looking for any life raft that they can get that will get them out of that situation. And it's not just CEOs, it's all sorts of other different prominent, powerful executives. I saw a couple people who were tweeting about this. They were like, damn, like, when is this going to go to the real estate market? I'm a landlord. I own lots of properties. And even I need to think about this. Like, if I have to evict someone, are they going to come after me? This is a very unstable situation. And this sort of instability is precisely what renders globalism dead. Globalism is dead. It's over. It's gone. It's done. It's going to make some waves as it dies. As we experience the death process, there's going to be a lot of waves. We got to ride those waves out. But it is dead. You cannot build a one world global government on the backs of completely retarded, incompetent people that are actively at war with competency in general, and on the complete and utter immiseration of everyone. It's just a simple fact. And there was a couple of interesting takes on this because the subject of violence. I saw people opining a lot about is it right-coded or left-coded to go gun down the CEO of a major insurance company. And I mean, yeah, I think it definitely has some strong Reddit tinges to it. But there is a larger problem of the absence of controlled outlets for violence in a society. If you try to outlawing violence is a performative contradiction, because the only thing you can use to outlaw violence is violence or the threat thereof. Which means the natural logical follow-on from that is there is going to be violence in society. You can't say no violence. The question is, what form is that violence going to take? And how are people going to sanction or tolerate it? You do tolerate violence in society. You will tolerate violence in society. You must tolerate violence in society. The question is, what color, what shape, what direction, what manner, how structured, how ordered, what are the terms? But we've lived in this fantasy land for the past few generations where it's just like, oh no, we just don't have violence at all. Any sort of violence that exists has to be immediately eradicated. And if you start from that premise of we must eradicate all violence, well, the first violence you're going to eradicate is the legal violence. Because if you could eradicate the illegal violence, you wouldn't even have the conversation in the first place. We've already demonstrated that it's not possible to eradicate the illegal violence or the legal violence. Both of them are always going to exist. So, efforts to eradicate violence necessarily then have to be directed at legal forms of violence first. So what do you do about all this? Lee, one of the greatest posters, said, I know that open street violence isn't good or orderly, but I do appreciate when people go straight to the source of their grievance rather than making it everyone else's problem by blocking traffic or doing a sit-in or burning down the shopping district. If you're mad about health insurance and you decide to zap the CEO of United Health, then, not good. But I say props for taking matters into your own hands and exacting what you perceive as accountability from that person instead of blaming the intersection of white colonialism and climate injustice or the patriarchy or some other performative nonsense like that. This is the same reason I don't care about J6, but also care greatly about petty street crime, by the way. And this is a very good point. Right? Like, I don't care about J6. Like, it's just, it was a thing that happened and things you could, like, it's a historical event. But the J6ers, like, they should be let out. They absolutely should not be punished the way that they are. But I also don't think that it was, like, a productive or wise endeavor. I think they did get baited and lured and escalated artificially. But it's there's a similar phenomenon here where they have a legitimate grievance. How do you express this grievance? If it's not legal to ever use violence to settle a dispute, then all you're going to get is sporadic, incoherent, destructive violence. Because you can't you can't seal up that Ziploc bag. It's always going to pop open. Mr. Ledslinger says, considering how hated pharma and healthcare CEOs are, I'm surprised there isn't a lot more of that going around. Then there's the judges and DAs that let criminals walk while imprisoning good people. This is generally a very safe society for corrupt individuals. And these are the other people that I'm talking about. Like, the CEOs are going to start changing their tune. Judges and DAs are going to start changing their tune. This sort of evil just cannot persist. It has a shelf life. The act of perpetrating this kind of evil diminishes the shelf life of that kind of evil because people at some point aren't going to tolerate it. And I'm not saying like, oh, they're going to get real mad and they're going to vote. No, they're going to do they're going to do this type of thing. And even if this was an ordered hit from on high, part of the reason why it's an ordered hit from on high is because it's a plausibly conceivable cover story. That it's this really disgruntled guy, because everyone could sympathize with someone like that, who gets completely screwed over by a company and is like harmed to the essence of their person. Whether it's watching their dad die in the hospital over Zoom or major health issues of your own. That's an extreme type of vulnerability that causes people to do really extreme things. If you don't allow boys to wrestle, boys will get violent and destructive. There's one thing Jason said yesterday. Young men from like 15 to 25 are biological weapons of mass destruction. You have to give them, they will willingly die for things. They will throw themselves into insane situations, put themselves completely at risk for insane reasons because they're boys. And so when you get an economic environment like this, it's just a powder keg waiting to explode. And the thing here is that the insurance company, like, they're the villain, obviously, but at the same time, they're also kind of the victim in this whole thing. Because they're not like, oh yeah, I have an idea. Let's start a business where we screw people over and make grandma die. Nobody working in the insurance company is thinking that way. The whole system is completely broken. The insurance company is desperately trying to stay solvent as the entire economic, financial, monetary world collapses. They're desperately trying to keep themselves afloat. There's probably just as good of a chance that dude was going to get capped in the street as there was that he was going to do himself in. Maybe not him specifically, but guys in his sort of position because of the type of pressure that they're under. This sort of thing won't last because it can't last. Juche Respecter on Twitter had a great thread about this. He says, the thing you realize about the Baptards and the barbarians on Twitter is that their dream of martial society is just having a natural hierarchy, and being rich is a shorthand for being naturally on top. No, bro. A martial society is one where people use violence. A martial society is one where if you insult a guy, he kills you. It's a society where the naturalness of the hierarchy comes in the form of people willing to either kill or die for non-economic reasons using force against the rest. It's not a society for or of merchants. If the Iron Age Scandinavians had health insurance, denying a claim to an important family would be 100% cause to walk up to the CEO and blow his brains out. A father who didn't do this would likely be considered I don't know how to pronounce that, a man too weak to defend his honor by violence. A society like Iron Age Scandinavia or modern day Yemen is a society where people look at that healthcare CEO getting shot on the street and say, okay, well, the guy who shot him was in the right because he cared enough about it to kill. Good on him. There was another tweet, maybe it was further down in the thread. I don't remember exactly where it was. You know, I've thought about this for a long time. I mean, obviously, for the sake of YouTube and just in general, we clearly do not advocate this sort of thing. I don't think it's a good or productive way. I think it's an inevitability. I think it's a thing that's going to happen. But I'm saying none of you and I should participate in anything like this. The most important reason for that is because of what it does to our souls. What it will do to you. Again, go listen to Jason's stream yesterday. But a society where you can just casually insult people and not have to worry about getting slugged or the guy's going to throw a glove down in front of you. If you insult a guy to his face in public and he throws down the gauntlet, all right, well, you guys are going to fight to the death now. So maybe don't just casually insult people in public. Either that or become really, really good at fighting. Or both. There's the best world. Do both. Become really, really good at fighting and don't casually insult people in public. If you want to outlaw the violence, then you need to accept the casual insulting of people in public, which is instead of giving you this contained, performative violence, you're going to get random explosions of violence here or there because someone getting insulted in public, latent within them is the sense that when I get insulted in public, That's a crime worth fighting to the death over. And like he says, like a lot of other places in the world, they operate that way right now. So like if the CEO of a major healthcare of a health insurance company gets popped in the street, like nobody looked at that and said, why would that happen? What could have possibly compelled this dude to do that to him? No, everyone saw it and they were like, yeah, I know why that happened. Either it was a hit by someone because he's testifying and there's deep corruption and everything, and so someone ordered a hit on him. It's like an industry hazard. Or they denied a claim and the dude lost his mind and is going John Q on him or whatever. Like nobody doubted it when it happened because that's the natural response to that sort of thing. But we've been conditioned to think that we can live in some sort of artificially constructed world where that sort of thing doesn't happen, where there is no violence that constrains our behaviors. We have rights. What you have a right to do is to not do things that are going to give other people cause to shoot you in the street. That's what you have a right to do. All right, I missed a couple of super chats back here. Hermetic Hegemony, $5. He says, speaking of Joni Ernst talking about trans people in the military, sounds like she's talking about making pigs into sausage. Make them comfortable, but who cares? Not soldiers serving. Yes, that's a really good point. There was the inanity of it all, but then there was the just Cruella de Vil-like heartlessness of it. They'll bleed just like anyone else. And then $5 more from High Powered says, a bad habit of mine is checking in on the left, Reddit, Vosh, and other praising this turn of events. Yeah. And these people, these are the Lord have mercy upon them. These are the most removed from violence people imaginable. They can't even conceive of what violence is like. And they cheer this on. That was the thing I was going to say. I dipped my toe into lib Twitter, and these people are just like outright calling for more. You've got Taylor Lorenz, who's some other company did something, and she just posted a screenshot of the CEO. I don't interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. Like, I would not be doing that 100%. Any of you guys, if I see any of you guys doing that sort of thing, like that's Fed behavior. You're getting blocked. Not going to have anything to do with you if you're advocating for this type of thing. There's one thing, like what characterized both of these threads I read is that it's one thing to recognize the naturalness and inevitability of this, like Lee did. He's like, genuinely don't think it's a good thing to just go killing people in the streets. But, I mean, we don't live in a utopia, so that sort of thing is going to happen. So if you assume that sort of thing is going to happen, well, is it better if it happens this way or that way? Do you want CEOs dropped in the street, or do you want city blocks burned down? Ideally, neither. But the world we live in, you're going to pick one or the other. You just don't want to have both. Was this a blood ritual to summon the vengeful sun? Well, you might be able to think of it that way. Even if it wasn't intentional, it could still function that way. Colin Ross says, insurance only works if the majority of people are healthy. Issue is we're not that kind of society anymore. Insurance must deny claims to stay in business when the majority are sick. And this is evidence of the systemic dysfunction, where you're not just getting like certain sectors dysfunctional, but now they're cross dysfunctional. Okay. One other take related to this. The shampoo warlord invited the scorn of insufferable people. Charles Haywood said, I don't generally approve of murdering people on the street, nor do I know anything about the dead guy, but it's good and salutary if the very many guilty among our elites start to live in fear of expedited, unanswerable, and unexpected punishment for their sins. And again, nuanced point he's making here. It's not Like, this isn't an endorsable thing, but the consequences of something like this happening can be good. If the elites within the society all of a sudden like wake up and realize, hey, someone can just pop me in the back while I'm walking down the street if I don't mind my P's and Q's, that's a pretty strong incentive to start minding your P's and Q's. Barry Weiss says, this is absolutely sick. And then Charles Haywood deleted it. That's how I had to find the screenshot to be able to see what he said originally. He deleted it because he was getting inundated with spurgs. Interestingly, she hasn't posted about it since then, because this is the sort of thing, it got my radar up that we might see a new hit campaign against, yeah, that's right, ding. We might see a new hit campaign against Haywood, and we may still. These sorts of people don't just let these things go lightly. All right, last subject of the day. Nayib Bukele is on a heater. So yesterday, with Bitcoin hitting 100K, History Photographed said, for those who doubted Nayib Bukele, just wanted to say hello, with a screenshot of the chart showing Bitcoin over 100. Bukele quote tweeted it with a crying laughing emoji, and Autism Capital said, post the portfolio again. It's time to dunk on the haters. And so he complied. So here is El Salvador's Bitcoin portfolio. Current balance, $603 million. And it's up about 118%. So he's basically doubled his money since he announced that they were going to, I think it was September of 2022, he announced that they were going to be buying a Bitcoin a day, starting the next day and going forward. So you can see what the portfolio has done over the last little over 2 years. And Elon replied and said, impressive. Huh. Wonder if Elon is having Bitcoin strategic reserve envy. And our guy, our sovereign shit poster, replied with the meme, it ain't much, but it's honest work. I cannot get enough of this dude. He is... he and Trump are just the two... What would it be like? Him, Trump, Assad, Putin... And I would put the latter two, I would put the former two kind of in one category, the latter two in another category. But guys who actually take their role seriously as a head of state, extremely competent men, and great personality as well. Relatedly, Stacey Herbert here, actually go one level deeper. Today, Bukele posted this. El Salvador bonds rally as Bitcoin jumps past 100K mark. El Salvador bonds are among the top gainers in emerging market debt as Bitcoin rallied on Thursday. Bonds due in 2041 jumped 1.2% to 93.1, the highest since June of 2021. So the highest since before they began the strategic Bitcoin reserve. 2035 bonds rose 1.3% to 97.6 cents on the dollar, also the highest in more than 3 years. The nation has accumulated more than $600 million worth of Bitcoin, according to a government tally. The token jumped past the 100,000 mark Wednesday. And he just has the chart here. So Bukele himself tweeted that out, said, hooah. And Stacey Herbert says, El Salvador bonds rally as Bitcoin jumps past the 100K mark. Bloomberg credits the Bitcoin rally for driving El Salvador bonds even higher, making them among the top gainers in emerging market debt. President Bukele put El Salvador on the path to prosperity. And Adam Back said, interesting times, Bitcoin moving sovereign bonds around. Bukele quote tweeted that and said, this is the first time in history that Bitcoin has driven sovereign bonds up in traditional markets. So just pin that one to the wall for a little bit, and we'll be coming back to it. Because if you've been listening to Tom Luongo, Alex Craner, Stormy Waters, Jason Miranchuk, myself, Pete Quinones, we've been talking about the incoming sovereign bond collapse in Europe. And the LIBOR, SOFR, the Fed, that whole domain. Well, imagine if suddenly people start perceiving Bitcoin as a positive like an upward pressure hedge for bonds, for sovereign bonds. What this could indicate here is the world that a few different people, including myself, have been speculating about, where the dollar and Bitcoin are not a zero-sum game. A strategic Bitcoin reserve would likely actually be a pro-dollar move. This is a potential game changer. Anyways, I got one last thing here related to this, and then I got to get out of here because I got a meeting to get to. Samuel Armes, this is an interesting guy. I followed him, but I apparently have to follow him again. Florida is going to launch a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and here's how we're going to do it. Florida has a very good chance of creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve this session, which starts in Q1 of 2025. Here's what you need to know. The Speaker of the Florida House, Danny Perez, and the President of the Senate, Ben Albritton, both helped push our anti-CBDC bill in Florida. Both leaders are very pro-Bitcoin, especially Speaker Perez, who understands the technology very well. And of course, with Ron DeSantis as one of the most pro-Bitcoin governors in the United States, things are looking pretty good. Here are some of the ways we can implement a strategic Bitcoin reserve in Florida. 1, leverage our $185.7 billion pension fund, the fourth largest in the U.S., to allocate a small percentage to Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation. To be clear, Florida has already invested in Bitcoin and crypto-related assets through our pension fund. The pension allocates its funds to hedge funds, and some of those hedge funds have bought various stocks in the Bitcoin space. Miners, MicroStrategy, Coinbase as examples, while also buying liquid tokens. Just investing 1% of our pension fund into Bitcoin would be $1.857 billion. Number 2, use our budget surplus, which is $116.5 billion for the fiscal year 2024 and 2025, to responsibly invest in BTC without cutting essential services. Florida often has a budget surplus because we are kick-ass and have a very well-run state, unlike the rest of you. But inflation in time will eat away at any budget surpluses we have. Investing just 1% of our surplus would be $1.165 billion. My organization will be pushing this hard along with about 3 other pro-Bitcoin bills this legislative session. Stay tuned. So this is obviously a sales pitch, but it's a sales pitch from someone with connections, and he's casting a pretty great vision forward. And I've been hearing a lot of other rumblings. It's kind of hard to tell how much of this is people trying to will it into existence and how much of it is legitimate, but there's enough smoke here that I think there's fire. And we're going to see a number of U.S. states announce a strategic Bitcoin reserve within within each state, and probably other nations happening here very shortly. The crossing the 100K mark was a really big psychological thing. And with the way MicroStrategy is taking off, the way Bitcoin is being normalized, people like Jerome Powell compares it directly to gold, says it competes directly with gold because it's digital gold. And Putin talking about Bitcoin. All of these signals are all like, I don't care what you think about Bitcoin. This shit's happening. And it's going to be pretty economically transformative. So anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. Appreciate you dropping in. Do me a favor and hit the like button. Thank you guys for the super chats. Go join the King Pill Discord at kingpill.com and go to the King Pill Substack. Subscribe there. You can see the links to all the stuff that I covered here on the show today. If you're listening on the audio version of this, do me a favor and give me a rating and a review. Helps us with the algorithm. And it does look like the numbers are getting affected a little bit by this copyright strike. So if you guys can give any engagement that you possibly can, hit the like button, comment on the stream afterwards, and then share the show with someone. Very much appreciate it. So until tomorrow, I'll be back with another Astrolabe then, and I give you Hulk.
They're my hero. And they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough. And I said, let Trump make